Hello and welcome along to episode 339 of the Total Saints podcast, and what could be our busiest one yet. My name's Martin Starke. Joining me is Steve Grant and Glen Delacour, and we start with the breaking news. Lots of reports this evening that Southampton are set to announce that Will Still has been sacked. We're still hitting F5 and waiting for the official announcement as we record this podcast, but we've had some pretty credible sources, Glen. So that announcement is due. Your initial reaction to that?
It's an individual carrying the can for the collective failure of the ownership, really. They appointed him. It was a gamble. It hasn't worked out. And he's carrying the can. He was always going to carry the can once the... you can't feel sorry for him, really, because the results have been shocking. And it's, managers know when they go into a job that if the results are as bad, as this, and the expectations were reasonably high at the start of the season, he knows he's going to carry the can. But once the fans en masse start chanting against the ownership, so we had all the Sport Republic get out of our club thing going on yesterday. Once that happens, then it's always the ownership will go, they're finally pointing a finger at us. We're going to be seen to be doing something. So I did think logically that he might get the next two games or get the next one game. For me, I thought he had to win at QPR to get given another home game against Sheffield Wednesday, and then he had to win that one because A, it's Sheffield Wednesday, and B, it's it's another home game after yesterday's shambles. But not surprised in the slightest that he hasn't survived the weekend. But you just hope that there are people taking a long, hard look at themselves, as we've said a number of times this season about players. But I don't, pick from Phil Parsons down through the Sport Republic board. Do we think they're looking at themselves? I guess time will tell. What they do with the next appointment is obviously key for the rest of this season. I don't trust them to get it right. So they've got to prove me wrong there.
Their track record is not stellar, is it? Let's be frank.
It's kind of one hit, isn't it, out of however many. So that was Russell Martin's first season in the Championship. But no, it's a shame it hasn't worked out. Obviously, as we'd all like to see the team winning a few games and us actually going to St Mary's and enjoying the game and enjoying the outcome. But it's not happening. And no, I'm not surprised he's gone. It's a shame on one level for Will, but I think he did seem to be floundering somewhat out of his depths. I don't think he's helped himself. There's been no discernible style of play. I think we first voiced this after the first couple of pre-season friendlies. It's like, what are we trying to do here? And to be honest, it hasn't improved. I do feel that something. We had the win against Wrexham in the first game, and I think we were okay for sort of 3 or 4 games. You could see a bit of an improvement, a bit of what we're trying to do. But from the Portsmouth game onwards, it's kind of been, what are we trying to do here? Are we improving? And the answer generally has been no. So I'm not surprised it's happened. And all we can do is roll on to the next one, because as I said at the end of the game, when we go to QPR, Sport Republic will still be there. The crap players we've got will still be there, and it's just a question of whether the manager will be there, and he's not going to be.
Doesn't look like so. We're expecting the announcement the official announcement in the next 60 seconds or so. And as Dan said, sacked on a podcast is an interesting new chant. It was pretty toxic yesterday, Steve, wasn't it? And we will get on to the game in just a moment. But I think he said in his post-match interview, he said, I don't think there is an instant fix, to be honest with you. And he said, I think whoever it is, there's a big job. It was almost like he knew this was coming.
He'd have had an inkling. I don't think it's necessarily. I just don't think it will have come as a shock. He's not stupid. These people don't. While people think that footballers and people in the game exist in a complete bubble, he will be very well aware of the kind of the sentiment. And I mean, you only have to look at the reaction he's had at full time in various games in the last last sort of 6 weeks or so. Hull away was probably the first one where it was pretty grim. And other than, I mean, Sheffield United away obviously was good, but other than that, we've largely sort of ended games badly, and the end of games is the bits that people tend to remember. And because that's where the result is decided, and results haven't been good enough. As you say, it's not worked out. But as Glenn said, it's one person carrying the can for the mistakes of many. All of those players should be having a fairly solid look at themselves. Have we done enough? No, absolutely not. Even the ones that are sort of have been lauded by many of us and the wider fan base over the last 6 weeks or so. That second half, nobody really showed up for more.
Can I just stop you there, Steve? Because they've announced it. We've got the official announcement from the club. Yeah, the statement says Southampton Football Club can confirm this evening that we parted ways with men's first team manager Will Still. Rubén Martinez, Clément Lemaitre, and Carl Martin have also left their positions at the club. Men's under-21s head coach Tonda Eckert will take charge of the team on an interim basis. Group technical director Johannes Spoor says Will is a great person who gave everything to try and improve performances and results. Ultimately, that process has taken longer than any of us would have liked. By making a change now, we believe it gives us the best chance of turning things around this season and climbing back up the league table. I would like to thank Will, Rubén, Clément and Carl for their efforts and wish them well for the future. So about climbing back up the table from Johannes Spoor, but he's going to feel a bit like he got this one quite badly wrong.
I wonder if Juventus are kind of reconsidering that job offer if it ever was on the table. I mean, what an absolute shit show. And that's now the second sort of promising under-21 manager that we've promoted into the role of interim first team manager off the back of a dreadful on the back of an appointment that's not worked. And that all comes down to the same people. Spoors obviously didn't appoint Juric, but he certainly would have been involved, obviously with Still, and I presume with Rusk as well. I'm trying to remember back when Spoors actually first joined the club. Depending on how much say he's had, how much the CEO above has had, because we know that he's wanted to stick his fingers in the pie every now and then. Those are the rumours that keep floating around, and I mean they tend to come from pretty good sources. So it's one of those you've got at the end of the day we have no control over this as fans. It's you're kind of left in the hands of people who have demonstrated themselves to be not up to the job. It's a 1 in 6 hit rate at the moment, and I've seen suggestions that Russell Martin might come back. Why would he come back? Like, why would he even bother? Like, yeah. he left on bad terms, and yeah, why would you throw yourself into a worse situation than the one he picked up 2.5 years ago?
Well, we'll get onto the list of replacements in a moment, because obviously there's been some betting odds today, and there's a few familiar names on that list. No word on Adam Lallana. I'm just checking through it again, so it looks like he might be sticking around as well, Glenn. But he's kind of been consistently
avoids all explosions.
Well, I did think maybe when he put his house up for sale this week there might be something in it, but his name wasn't mentioned, so maybe he is sticking around for the time.
No, and Carl Martin is an interesting one because he's been there since the Ralph days. So I don't know why they've suddenly thought he's part of the problem. That's an interesting one, but only interesting in a minor way. Tonda Eckert, I don't know anything about. I don't know. I know he's managing the under-21s. So I don't know what he did before that, whether he's going to command the respect of the players. I kind of think that's been part of the problem with Will Still. It's kind of a pet theory that, we've seen it before with Saints, where you appoint someone who's a little bit different, who doesn't have a traditional background, that players don't respond to him. They kind of think he's not worthy of their time, sort of thing. So I don't know how Tonda Eckert is going to get on with this lot. I don't know how. I don't know where you really go. I mean, I would suggest that is definitely only going to be these 2 games, and then they're going to use the international break to get the real target in for the rest of the season and beyond, hopefully. But it's. It's not. The statement is what it is. I'm just reading it again now. There's that bit about climbing the league table. Yeah, nice idea. I mean, what? Well, we don't really want to do the opposite, do we? As we're one place above the relegation zone.
Did you think it might say the best chance of avoiding relegation? Maybe we're not quite there yet, I don't think. Let's welcome Alfie, who is with us. We're all a little bit later than scheduled. Alfie House, if you're joining us for the first time, is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo. So I imagine your phone's been pinging and going off the hook quite a bit in the last half hour. Alfie, what have you made of it all?
Yeah, well, to be fair play to L'Equipe. Obviously, you've got a whiff of that before anyone else. I don't know what I've made of it, really. It's interesting that Paul Trollope is still here, according to that statement. So they've got rid of, obviously, Carl Martin, Clément, who followed from RC Lens, and the goalkeeping coach, obviously, who used to work at Stade Rennes. But Paul Trollope's here, so I guess it's Tonda and Paul for Wednesday. I mean, I'm sure that you've all said a lot of the same things I'm about to say because I missed the first 10 minutes, but I do feel that I felt that Will Steele was really unlucky for the first sort of 10 games, I guess, of the first 13. And I felt that the games that they didn't win, they probably should have won. Obviously, Swansea being the prime suspect, but also missed chances and silly goals and all this sort of stuff. And to be fair, that has carried on into the last 3 games as well. But the performances have got worse dramatically in the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure Glen has already said this. When the fans start chanting against, the owners and the board and so on, the cheapest and only way to really remedy that in the short term is to change the manager. But yeah, I felt that the last couple of games have just looked a little bit lost, tactically. Not necessarily from the start. I'm not talking about 5 at the back and all this sort of stuff, but just the in-game changes. It hasn't really looked like it's been throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks, really, hasn't it? And it hasn't stuck at all. So yeah, and I'm sure I heard you saying then, Glenn, about the players. I'm sure that they didn't have him from day one because he hasn't played the game, and they're all above that now because they're all brilliant players, obviously, who should be in the Premier League. So I'm sure that they all think like that. Tonda Eckert is interesting. I mean, obviously, Tonda's under-21s team are very good. Before he came to Saints, he was a manager, assistant manager at Genoa, the men's team. So at least he's been in the dressing room of a men's game. He was at RB Salzburg when they were sort of going to the UEFA Youth League final. So he's got all these brilliant coaching attributes. But yeah, the big thing now is, can he pull a group of players together? Can he, pull a group of players that don't have any leaders or any balls together and win a couple of championship games? So yeah, we'll see.
Are you right to stick around a bit, or have you got to shoot off and write things?
Well, I'm just sort of
do paper stuff.
I'm sort of doing a paper with my colleagues at the same time, but I thought I would drop in.
Have we got you for a few minutes? Is that all right?
No, I'm here. No, I'm not. I'm nothing special. I'll be here.
Steve, I think Alfie makes a really good point there. It just needs someone to come in now with a bit of experience to try and get something out of this team. I don't blame Will still entirely for where we are. I just kind of felt like he was out of his depth, and maybe it was a big job a little bit too early in his career. Do you think there is a decent manager in there? It's just the wrong one at this time.
Well, I mean, he demonstrated in France that he's a decent manager. He's done well with Rennes and RC Lens. They're moderately sized clubs in that division, and he had them kind of probably slightly above where they should be in the kind of natural food chain in Ligue 1. But I guess the expectation levels at those 2 clubs relative to the division they're in, you can play quite reactive football. Whereas this job, I guess, is probably the first time where his team is expected to be on the front foot in basically every game, maybe barring a handful. So I think that transition has been probably difficult. And also, I imagine he's not had to deal with a bigger bunch of dickhead players as he has when he's come in here.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I'm fed up with this lot.
But we found that with Juric as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
To a certain extent. They just didn't fancy him, and so that was it.
And it's I mean, we said at the back end of last season, didn't we? But genuinely couldn't really give a toss if they all left. Not bothered. And the ones that have carried over, still not bothered. And we haven't seen anything from any of them that kind of counters the argument that either they aren't good enough, which a lot of them showed they were good enough 2 years ago under Russell Martin in the Championship, certainly comfortably good enough for this level, but also that they have the stomach for the fight, and that has come up way so far short in so many games where the fine margins haven't gone our way, and they've all stood around kind of shrugging their shoulders. There's no kind of attitude of, well, we're better than these, so we will take it to them and we'll show them that we're good, that we're better than them. It's been like, well, we'll just kind of play around if it this kind of suits us at the moment. But then as soon as the opposition put up a little bit of a fight, they go running and they're just not interested. So I mean, good luck to the lad Eckert to turn things around ahead of a game on Wednesday night. I mean, I think it'll be very interesting to hear the fan reaction next Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, because that'll be a real litmus test. Because if you, I mean, it's not going to be on Eckert, is it? If they go and balls it up against Sheffield Wednesday, that'll be solely squarely on the players, Sport
Republic, and the players, because that's the only two entities that are left.
Do you think the players, though? Do you think any of them are suddenly going to start playing better because Will Steele is gone? Do you think?
I think there's always the potential for a marginal upturn because they actually start trying again.
So Ryan Manning is going to start defending.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not expecting cartwheels onto the pitch and top corner goals anymore, because we've still got the same group of players who are cowards, and they're going to go to Loftus Road where it's very hard to play, and against a team that know what they're doing. And Tonda Eckert is going to have to work miracles if he's going to give 11 players a chance to win.
Steve is talking about, it's not pinging the ball in the top corner, it's doing the basics, and putting in the hard yards and having a will to win. Old cliches, being willing to run through brick walls and all this sort of stuff that we're not doing. And they haven't been doing under Will Steele, because I question whether a vast majority of these players have got it in them. I just don't think, I think there's a lot, they'll all say they care. They might care about themselves, but I don't think they care about the club and the team and the supporters. And I just can't see there. But I think maybe if you got a manager in who was, I don't know, like when Ronald Koeman walked through the door, for example, there wouldn't have been a player in there who went, "Oh my God, it's Ronald Koeman," one of the best players ever, and that might have given some of them an uplift. But I think it's going to take more than that with this lot. And we talk about the squad. People have talked. I've been talking to people since yesterday about we've got a top six squad, and I'm like, no, we haven't. We've got some individual players that some of the top six might want to use in a different way to we're using them, but a top six squad would be a balanced squad. It would have a better goalkeeper than we've got. It would have central defenders who take control. It would have a horrible bastard in midfield who would drive the team forward and drive the standards, and it would have our old favourite, the number 9. It would have a couple of leaders in it. That's a balanced squad that is in the top six. We haven't got the squad. That falls on Spores. He's built this squad. He talked some crap about it being like I can't remember the words he used, like a big project, a work of art or something daft like that.
Judge me at the end of the window, though, wasn't it? Is what he said, I think. At the end
the quote was that squad building is an art that only becomes clear when it's complete.
Yeah, it's pretty clear now, mate.
He's not come out of this with any glory at all, does he? I mean, he needs to carry a bit of the can for this as well, and obviously a lot of.
Well, one of the things that, if you remember Dragan Solak telling me in June, was that they identified 3 key positions in which they need to sign important players. And obviously, we've hammered the number 9 home to death. But also the other two positions were centre-half and number 10. And the centre-half is Joshua Kouachi, who doesn't get in the team. And number 10 is Finn Azaz, who was hooked at half-time. So the three critical positions where they said, we need to sign good players here, none of them are good enough at the moment. That has to fall on Johannes Spors. It has to.
And the heat will continue on Sport Republic, I'm sure, Alfie. But I've been reading back through your interview from the summer, and it's really difficult to kind of blame Dragan Solak for any of this. But the money that he's put in, he's going to be fuming that he's had to pay out again for another manager. I can't imagine that he's happy at all with it.
The truth is that this season, don't get me wrong, Dragan Solak is not without any blame at all, because ultimately he's the leader of the organisation. The buck stops with the leader, always does, and he's appointed, or whoever he's appointed hasn't worked over the course of 4 years now. This is 7 managers they've got rid of, I think, something like that. So clearly he has to take his part of the blame. But they need cash this season, Saints. They've spent a lot of money in the window, more than I know people say, we've got 35 million for Tyler Dibbling or whatever, but that's not how it works. You need cash now. They do need cash this season. That's 100%. They need more coming in. And Dragan's the man with the cash. It is one of those where he's really important at the moment. And he's not completely blameless, but I don't think that I'm not looking at Dragan and thinking he's the reason we are where we are.
No,
it's the people he's appointed.
Jason McKnight makes a good point. He says we never seem to get the new manager bounce for some reason. Maybe because we always get the appointments wrong. But it's probably a good opportunity to move on to
the players are shit.
To who's next. I mean, I saw there was a list earlier on today. So before this announcement came out, the betting odds had Ralph Harson hootled down as 11-4 with one bookie for a return. Michael Carrick, I think, was second. Lee Carsley on the list. Russell Martin, obviously, is a name that's been mentioned quite a bit in the comments. 9-1. Gary O'Neill as well. I think you could get 100-1 on Matt Letizia. From what we're saying, Glenn, I think we need someone that's a bit of experience in the division, someone that's going to come in and just kick a few asses.
I'm not sure that experience in the division is as massive as people say it is. I think you need someone with a little bit of stature. I mean, if Ralph Hasenhüttl was top of the list and he wants it, I'd be amazed if he does. Why would he want to come back in the current state that the club is in? Just because he was in the crowd at Bristol City, I think
that's because he's mates with the Bristol City man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's nothing to do with us. I think it was just coincidental that we were there. And he would have, if he'd seen us in that game, he would have thought, don't fancy this lot much. So I don't know.
Unless he left after half an hour.
Yeah. Out of those names, Gary O'Neill, I'm personally not having that. He's a Pompey.
If taking O'Neill as one theoretical option, why would you make that appointment? You basically give the guy 0 honeymoon period because of his connections. You lose the first game and everything is toxic immediately. There is there's no room for any sort of bedding in period. He's got to have an impact immediately. And then as soon as it turns, if he does have an immediate impact, as soon as it turns the other way, all of a sudden the pressure's back on again. Whereas you get somebody who's got no affiliation with that lot down the road, which is the vast majority of people, and most sort of right-minded fans will give them a fair crack of the whip. But anyone who's got that sort of deep connection with Pompey, just steer clear. It's just PR disaster waiting to happen.
And all I'll say about Russell Martin is that there's no reason whatsoever why he would want to come back to us, even if we did want him. Apart from the fact his girlfriend supports us, that's it.
Look, I may well end up looking absolutely stupid, but for me, there is 0 chance that happens. He's not popular within the club. The people who are going to be hiring him don't like him, and he doesn't like them. I just can't see that happening. Not for me.
And for the same reason, I'm guessing, the other name I've seen is Brendan Rodgers. That's just nonsense as well, isn't it? The amount I've seen that quite a bit as well in the comments, and I think Dan says he would never take the step down, but that's not why he left Celtic, is it? There wasn't an inkling that this job was going to come up. So, Jesse Marsh was another one on the list. I know we were sort of kind of close to him before, but not a no, Steve, completely.
He turned the club down for being a basket case 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, I mean, his credentials are good, but yeah, I just don't think that's probably not viable. I mean, where's he? Canada national team, isn't he at the moment? So he'll be looking at a World Cup next summer. Right, so yeah, no chance on that one.
It just looks a bit slim pickings to me.
There was one target who everyone would have probably accepted a week ago, and that was obviously Danny Roll. But by waiting as long as they did, obviously
had he not turned it down though? Did I forget this? Because I'm sure did we not approach Sheffield Wednesday before, and then he must have turned it down because
they approached Sheffield Wednesday in
it was the compensation issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they didn't want to pay Sheffield Wednesday for him. I don't know if they approached him in June or not, or in May.
Just like to say that was the manager I thought we were getting, and that was the one I wanted in the summer. I was kind of ignoring all the names, and then Will Still pops up, and like within 10 minutes, or it seems, we'd appointed him. So yeah, and Danny Rowe was unfortunately pitched up somewhere else now. So that's not a possibility for me. He would have ticked every box going, but there you go.
I assume history tells us, Alfie, that they're aimed to get somebody in for the international break. They'd have been looking, weren't they, for all the blame that Johannes Spals has to take. Presumably he will have been thinking about who's next and who comes in, and he'll have a short list.
Well, I hope so. If he hasn't, then let him go to Juventus.
What's he doing?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, what's he doing?
Yeah.
So I'm certain he will have done. Yeah. It's the perfect time of year, isn't it? Unfortunately, for a manager to be sacked. In fact, we've got 2 weeks off in a week, and I did wonder if they would give Will Steele the QPR game. That was sort of always my suspicion. They give him the QPR game, get beaten in a tough place, and then you sort of get the tap in. Well, new manager bounce for the home game against Sheffield Wednesday, and you win, and then go into the international break with a bit more feeling. But although I'm sure it wouldn't have worked out that simple. But yeah, I'd expect someone to be appointed during the break at least. Although I don't have any information.
No. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? I kind of want to touch on the game from yesterday, obviously, but it's. Well,
I mean, it's interesting. I think Will Steele's frustration has been growing in the press, not with the press, in the press, saying things like, he even said as flat as yesterday said, "Oh, it's easy to play the way I want to play when you've got Ross Stewart, but we've only got small players." And I was just sort of thinking, "Oh, yeah, fair enough." What did we expect? I mean, we've hired a manager who it seems doesn't actually believe he can coach without having a target man, and they've not given him a target man.
But how many teams in this league don't have one?
Well, it seems like every team we come up against does have one.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. But I'm probably 99% certain we are the only team that now doesn't have a starting player that's over 6 foot up front.
And it's just misreading of the championship, isn't it? By Spurs, thinking that Damien Downs could do that job, thinking Ross Stewart was going to be robust enough to stay fit, and that's been a colossal error. But that's not the only error.
No,
I mean, we keep, like I said at the start, blaming Will Steele is blaming one player for a collective. One person for a collective failure. The centre forward is definitely not the only issue, but it is definitely one of the major ones.
Let's talk a little bit about yesterday, just because we need to kind of tick it off, really. There was a lot of talk in the week about players stepping up, but it didn't happen. That was a new low for me yesterday. That first 25 minutes gave us a bit of an insight into the afternoon ahead, and it was pretty turgid from start to finish, Steve.
Yeah, for the most part. We had a couple of little flurries, didn't we? There was like a 5-minute spell in the first half where Cienza kind of grabbed things as we kind of hoped he would. But then they shut him down, and he then tried to beat everybody on his own, which I think is the fear that probably most people had, that when he is the only guy that's able to create everything, you have 10 other players who are shirking their responsibility, and they'll say, "Yeah, go on, mate. You deal with that creative stuff, and we'll stand by and watch." And that's what they did. And eventually, Preston realised that was the case, and they stuck 3 men on him. So he became less and less effective, and he got more and more irritated and slightly distracted by the end of it, I think. So yeah, not ideal. But then second half, we had that little spell after the substitutions. Yanda hit the bar. Unbelievable save by the goalkeeper, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's the way these things go. I mean,
it was an unbelievable hit as well. I've watched it a couple of times. I don't know where to look.
Hit.
Do I watch the hit again? Do I watch the save again? It's like, what's going on?
Perfectly hit. And I'm sure he basically when that ball left his foot, Yander was inside. He was celebrating. It was like, yes, I've absolutely nailed this. But yeah, Everson with a fantastic save, and by all accounts, he's been doing that all season for them. I mean, that's all three relegated teams from the Premier League they've beaten already this season.
Yeah, very impressive stat, that, isn't it? I know all three of them are like a shambles, but that is good work.
Yeah,
and not only that, they've also beaten Sheffield United, who are the only other team in receipt of parachute payments.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought about that. It did turn a little bit nasty as well, Glenn. They made a few changes at half time, but it just nothing really was going to happen at all, was it? Yesterday was one of those days.
The second half team more resembled what he should have put out at the start. The three at the back again, waste of time. But then you could counter that and say that we didn't look any better in the second half. With more or less the team that I would have put out. To be honest, there were so many things that were wrong, and you have to start. I mean, it's a difficult one to talk about because the chanting started after about 25 minutes. Was it? There was some shambles down the left hand side where we gave the ball away 3 times or something. Then the chanting started. Now, the chanting it's a lot of people, so you can't dismiss it as being silly or anything like that, because there's a lot of people. They obviously feel strongly enough to do that. Did it help what was going on the pitch? No, it didn't, because within 30 seconds, I don't think we touched the ball in between that starting and the goal going in. And let's talk about that goal. I mean, that summed up everything. I think there were 5 mistakes in that goal. There was, off the top of my head, there was allowing the cross to come into the box unchallenged in the first place. We had 7 players in the penalty area, plus the goalkeeper.
2, I think.
They had 2 strikers, so that the ball comes in far too easily. Don't know where Ryan Manning was. Don't know where he ever is. There were 4 players on the edge of the box. If you freeze frame at the point the ball comes into the box, we've got 4 players on the edge of the box, ball watching, not marking, not doing anything.
When they're all stood literally in the space of about like a 5-yard square, aren't they? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, what are they doing? Harwood-Bellis misses the ball as it comes across. Ronnie Edwards just gets rolled out of the way pathetically, and Mats Rorsleff is hilarious. He just stands there watching, doesn't get involved at all. He's behind Edwards. He just stands there, doesn't sense the danger, doesn't see a problem, just stands there. He doesn't move until he walks back to the halfway line to kick off again. So it's pathetic. And on that goal, I felt a bit sorry for McCarthy. He was the only one who actually tried to stop it. And it's just so many things wrong with that goal. People being in position but not actually doing anything. Too many central defenders not taking responsibility. It's just people not sensing the danger. It's just absolutely pathetic. And that killed the rest of the first half. He changed it at half time. Fellows and Robinson sort of briefly livened things up a bit, running at people. But I think we only had the one shot from Casper Yander. But the other thing I'd like to praise their goalkeeper for, 93rd minute, he catches a cross, and instead of flopping on the ground and wasting time and all that, he saw that Preston could run the ball up our end of the pitch and kill more time that way, and they got a goal from it, directly from the goalkeeper, just catching the ball, throwing it out quickly. And so fair play to him, and fair play to Preston for still having the attitude that they were going to, 3 or 4 of them were going to break forward. Again, I think Alfie mentioned the subs just being thrown on. No real. The one where he took Flynn Downs off and put Damien Downs on. From that moment on, we were all over the place.
Not only that, Glenn, but he then brought a central midfielder on for somebody else like 2 minutes later.
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been a Rebo coming on for Flynn Downs straight away to at least preserve some sort of normality. But he brings Fellows on the wing and then puts him at right back. And then Joe Robinson gets slotted into the centre of midfield. For God's sake, it's and Preston obviously says this. It's been mentioned that they're a side who knew what they were doing, and and they had the attitude to flood forward through the non-existent defence and right back area, and scored that second goal. So fair play to them, and they I think that Paul Heckingbottom said afterwards it was like the perfect away performance, and I'll just caveat that and say it's the perfect away performance against a team that's in complete shambles and just generally very, very bad.
Is that one of the worst games you've covered, Alfie? Is that like a new low for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously 10 times better in my position, as I always say, because I'm not paying for the privilege. So I recognise that. But it is hard. It's hard right now. It's like this is as bad as it's been, and it's so negative every day, and you're desperate for somebody to give you something to cling on to. And I'm sure fans will feel the same way. But I'm happy to be as positive as I humanly can be in a time like this because I want them to do well. I want to have something to grip onto and say that worked. That could be better, but it's not. It's just an utter shower of shit. Like it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a football match ever. And I can't believe that we're getting worse every week, which is why the Will Steele sacking doesn't come as like a massive surprise. Even though I thought they'd maybe go a little bit longer just because the performances have been so bad. But I think I thought Glen made a really good point about the fan chanting. One of the most remarkable things I've ever seen, actually. Like it was a period of maybe 4 or 5 different phases of play. Every single time the players either kicked it straight out of play, passed it to the opposition, kicked it off someone's backside, did some just bollocksed it up sort of 4 or 5 times in a row, and that's why the fans turned. That's why the fans started to chant. But to then concede the opening goal within about like Glen says, 25 seconds, I've not seen anything like that before. Like that was incredible, and it summed up where this team are at. I think because they said they got scared. They sensed it. They sensed the fear.
It gave them the excuse to say, not our problem. The players have clearly identified where the problem is, and it's not us. Great.
Yeah, it's a dream for them, isn't it? They're buzzing with that. Yeah, very low.
After the game, Steve, we've got Nathan Wood seen arguing with a fan. He's issued an apology today. That's another thing to tick off the bingo card of being so bloody low, isn't it? When you've got fans. We saw it with Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and then you think, well, at least we're not as bad as that. And then we've got our own little version going on.
And it is quite interesting to see Wolves have actually got a worse record at the current point this season than we did last season. So there's something to cling our, so sort of hang our hats on that possibly there might be a 10-point season for somebody on. But yeah, I think with that sort of scenario where Wood has very clearly pointed at somebody, an individual in the stand, I'd want to know what that person said to him to provoke that, because I think there's a line, there's quite a well-defined line, I think, where fan sort of opprobrium and sort of abuse to players just because they happen to be the first one, kind of the nearest one to them, is kind of a little bit fair game in terms of you pay your money, you get to voice your opinion. But then there is obviously a line where if you step beyond that, where it becomes specifically targeted and personal and potentially any other kind of nasty sort of scenario, then I think any player's got absolute right to have a go back.
Yeah.
But we don't know what was said, and
we'll never know, will we? That's the thing.
No. And Wood has come out and apologised. Hopefully that's the end of it. I mean, he had an absolute stinker yesterday, which is unfortunate because he's probably been our most consistent player so far this season. But yeah, he was absolutely rotten. But yeah, not ideal. But as you say, tick it off the bingo card. It's a symptom of the situation. Those things tend to happen to teams that are in the shambles that we are, sort of on and off the pitch.
The other thing I was just going to ask, Glenn, I mean, we're all kind of been around long enough to remember like that 2008, 2009 season. And that was pretty dire. And for some of us, we kind of couldn't see the way out of that. And there are some similarities. We changed the manager, that's fine, but you can't change the squad. And that worries me a bit.
That was the season we nearly went bust and went down to League One.
Yeah.
We
did beat Preston that season, though.
Well, the thing is, we went
home and away, I think.
We went down with Norwich that year, if I remember rightly, and that's why I'm looking at the table thinking, "Oh God, we should be looking over our shoulder." Yes, it was. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's many. I don't think there's seriously a comparison with that season. In that season, that was, if memory serves, that's the one where Rupert Lowe decided that we were going to try and do it with kids straight out of the academy who were 18, 19. So we had a very young Morgan Schneiderlin, I believe. He was like 18. We had Adam Lallana was 17, 18 or something like that. And we had players like Ollie Lancashire who were, never good enough and stuff like that. So we just plummeted in that season. Jan Portvliet in charge, my word. I mean, if you want
as well, wasn't it, for the second?
You want to compile a list of dodgy managers we've had, then Jan Portvliet. I like arguing the point about Ian Bramford, and I say Ian Bramford isn't even in our top 5 of worst managers when you look at
not even close.
Not
even got us to a cup final.
Yeah, when you yes, and you remember which one it was. No, so I mean, I don't actually, in terms of the squad, they can fix it in January, but it's going to be a rough ride until then. As I said, we do have some players who can be decent, but I'm very questioning of the collective attitude. And just something Steve said earlier that I'm thinking about. When we lost the game to Hull, that was the game where all what you'd call the big players, if you like, the Harwood-Bellis, Stevens, I think Flynn Downs as well. Might not be right about that one. I think it was after that game they all got dropped. So I do wonder if that was a turning point for, players turning against him, because that would roughly fit the timeline where you kind of think is where things started to go very south.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Think maybe some of the illnesses. Do you think maybe now we look back on it and go, maybe that wasn't quite as honest as we thought?
Well, who can say? I mean, Alfie clearly thinks he can because he said so last week. But I don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's been some stuff going on behind the scenes. Player manager conflict. I mean, Jack Stevens is an interesting one. Someone sort of like asked me to make this point. And I wasn't gonna do it, but it's kind of come up. We are crying out for leaders. Anyone can see that leadership on the pitch to stop games going south when they start sometimes reasonably well. Jack Stevens, we gave him this contract. This was mentioned. He's the leader. We are quiet. Jack Stevens ain't got near the football pitch. I mean, he played that 5 minutes in midfield where he didn't touch the ball a couple of weeks ago. But he's not been near the football pitch. He's been the 5th choice centre half ever since he came
under the bus, didn't he?
Ever since he came out of the team. So, what's going on there? What's going on? Harwood-Bellis was much worse against Hull, but he's found his way, back into the team. Rightly so, probably. But where is Jack Stevens? What's gone on there? So has there been some sort of conflict with the manager? I know they both said. I know Steele said no. That there wasn't a problem, but he's going to say that, isn't he? He's hardly going to say I've fallen out with the club captain. So
it's a clean slate for everybody now, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but
how many clean slates have we had now?
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to ask,
that's an entire roof of clean slates.
Does this affect, Alfie, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, does this affect the balance sheet and what players we can bring in? Because this is, it's another expensive mistake, isn't it? And this is another outlay of cash that they weren't expecting. And I don't know what Will Still and his staff were on, but it's probably going to be a couple of million maybe to pay them all out. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what Will Still's wages would be. Literally zero idea. I don't care. But yeah, obviously it will cost them. And so will paying someone's release clause if they get someone who's in a job. Obviously, if they get someone who's a free agent, it won't. But yeah, it will do. It's unnecessary expense. But we've been in this place a number of times now, so I imagine that Dragan's getting a little bit used to it, unfortunately.
More unnecessary expense. I kind of want to move on to the QPR game. Anything else on Will Still, on the manager? Anything else on yesterday that I might have missed?
Well, I think on the Nathan Wood thing, I know we've spoken about it, but I do think that it's just he's apologised and you move on, sort of thing. At that point,
Yeah.
there are bigger problems than Nathan Wood, for sure. And yeah, who knows what was said to him? It's obviously not right. You shouldn't do that. It's a bad look for everybody. But yeah, I'm more than happy to move on with that one.
Oh, just on the gutlessness of the players. I mean, Will Still was the one person connected to the first team who got nearest to the northern stand at full time, and he went about 5 yards closer than the sort of edge of the centre circle.
But they straight down the tunnel.
Not one of the players went closer than about 3 yards from halfway. Just pathetic. Grow a pair. Go up to the fan base. Take your medicine, as we said last week. Take your medicine, and then go down the tunnel and forget about it and sort yourselves out. It's not difficult, and people would have a hell of a lot more respect for them if they did so. As it is, that respect is in the gutter at the moment. There's nothing there for people to work with right now.
Does anybody genuinely fear about finishing in the bottom three?
No.
Yeah,
Not.
you don't.
Yes and no. Not at the moment, but the way things were going, the way things have gone the last 3 games, I don't think this team, and the way that we're going about games, I don't think they're capable of beating anybody, to be honest. So I guess that answers the question. But when you look at it from the outside and just look at this squad of players, yeah, they're dickheads, a lot of them, but they're not a bottom 3 in the championship squad. But
we kind of felt that before.
No, they're definitely not a bottom 3 in the championship squad. That's 100% true. They're absolutely not. But are the conditions that are currently surrounding the club, conducive to that? Quite possibly. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it'll actually happen. But they are a basket case.
Yeah, I'm not sure the way we're, the way we're setting up and the way we're playing, the way the players are performing at the moment is enough to win many games in the championship. But I mean, the target at the start of this season was obviously to get promoted again. Yeah. I think that's gone. I do think that's gone. You can't write off the first half of the season and still have that. So I mean, at the moment, I'd take finishing 14th and 1 place above Portsmouth. To be honest, that'd do. Then we roll on to next season.
They're looking ropey again all of a sudden, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the only consolation, and they're. I mean, we're majorly deflecting here talking about them, but
let's move on.
It's quite nice. It's quite nice to see John Mousinho being an arsehole and it all catching up with him.
I must just say thank you for joining us live this evening. It's our biggest live stream we've ever had. So if you're enjoying the podcast,
what surprise.
I wonder why.
No surprise. Well, they're all tuning in to hear our preview for Queen's Park Rangers.
Rubbernecking the train wreck.
If you have enjoyed the pod, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do all the usual bits on there and give us a follow. Because I was going to say it's not always this depressing, but it kind of is at the moment. But yeah, big week ahead. 2 big games this week. The first of which is Wednesday night. Trip to Queen's Park Rangers. What's the minimum that you're looking for, Glenn? You just want the players to turn up and look like they care?
Well, they've just been stuffed 4-1 at home. They lost the previous home game as well to Millwall, and they drew with Oxford the one before that. So I know we've gone to lots of teams this season that haven't won a game, and then we've played them. Sort out that little run for them. So, well, no, I'm looking to win the game. I'm looking for, it's the sort of team that we should go and beat. I'm not being, Billy Big Balls about that and saying we're going to go and smash these but I want to see a lot more effort. I want to see a lot more sort of like will to win and actually driving forward and trying to win the game. So I want to see a change in the style, certainly. But the ultimate aim is to get 3 points. And if they play crap and win 1-0 by gutsing it out, then fair enough. I think it was here. I think it was QPR in the Championship where we didn't play particularly well 2 years ago, and we managed to nick it 1-0. It was a horrible game, but we got over the line in it. So we need to have something similar, on Wednesday. So I think QPR, they've been up and down a bit this season. Lost a couple at the start, then won a few, got in the playoff positions, and now they've sunk down to about 13th. And I think ultimately that is where they will finish. So it'll be a good test. It's a tight ground, as everybody knows. tough place to go. They've got a few decent players. They've still got Steve Cook playing, who couldn't run 5 years ago when he was playing for Bournemouth. So I don't know what he's going to be like now. They signed the lad who scored loads of goals for Wickham as well, Richard Kone. So I don't really know how he's been getting on this year. Ilias Chair on the wing,
but not great. Chair's been out injured for pretty much the whole season. I think
he was.
He's just coming back. I think.
What I remember from him is James Bree pulling a hamstring trying to chase him down the line in that game. So he's one to watch out for. Isaac Hayden in midfield was Premier League player with Newcastle before they got the money in and got all too big for themselves. So QPR got some decent players, and it'll be a tough game. But we've got to go there believing we could win, but be prepared to really guts it out. That's what I'd like to see. And 4 at the back, please. Tonda.
Well, Tonda has been playing the same 3-4-3, obviously.
Is that because he's had to do that? Is
as per the directive, I'm
that,
sure.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll make a massive change in a couple of days. I guess we'll see.
This would be his opportunity, I guess, to say what he thinks about that. If he starts with that, then we'll know maybe he's on board with it. But a bit of their form rubbing off onto the first team wouldn't go amiss, though, would it, Alfie?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm sure. Did any of you go to the Real Madrid game on Wednesday?
No.
I watched it online.
No, I didn't go either. I was away, but I did see they drew 1-1 with Real Madrid, which obviously is a decent result. But
Gavin Bazunu with an assist for the equaliser.
Yeah, absolutely.
I assume you saw that.
Leaping like a salmon.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, he's done that twice now, and he's not actually got the goal for it. So he's still, obviously, with Preston a couple of years ago, so he's still waiting for that first goal. I think it will be really interesting to see who makes the 11. And I don't remember. You're going to have to remind me now. I don't remember. Did anyone come in and out of the team when Simon Russ came in immediately? I know that Joe Aribo played every single game previously and never played again.
Big Les came in at Fulham, didn't he?
I mean, who have we even got that could sort of come in and out? I feel like we're on such bare bones because Cameron Archer's injury, Shea Charles
centre of midfield, unfortunately, picks itself, doesn't it? I think.
And that's Yander and Aribo, or is that Yander and Downs?
Yander and Downs, I think.
Yeah.
I don't see any other combination that works. I mean, Aribo. He was on the pitch 15 minutes on Saturday, and he still didn't look fit.
No,
he looked like he was blowing after jogging on. It was like, well, what's the point of this?
It was like when Bella Kotchap came on that time, wasn't it?
Aribo looked like a player who hadn't trained from the start of the season. And I'm being very disrespectful there, but that's what he looked like when he came on. And he came on in midfield, and he wasn't even playing in midfield. He was dropping back in between the centre halves and just picking the ball up and doing there.
And just standing there.
He wasn't running at all.
He was playing the ball out to either Manning or Fellows, and then was just staying there. It's like, well, I mean, you've played up front in the European final. Why are you not getting forward in injury time here? This is ridiculous.
But I would have thought that Tom Fellows, Joe Robinson will, if he decides to play with wide players, then those two will certainly come into things and at least add a little bit more urgency. You can always take them off if they get tired, sort of thing. So I imagine he'll come in, but there's not a lot of choices. Particularly, I mean, the problem area up front, there's not a lot of choices. I mean, Adam Armstrong, we haven't mentioned him yet, but I mean, God, he was supposed to be providing the cutting edge.
Nobody mentioned him Saturday either.
He's supposed to be providing the cutting edge and the leadership on Saturday, being the captain. And you're picking him as captain. You're basically saying, I don't really care about having a captain. So it was dreadful.
It's interesting with the sort of attacking non-output that Damien Downs had more of an impact on the game than Adam Armstrong did, just with that one snapshot from 25 yards that was blocked about 3 yards away.
Yeah. He had 100%.
That was more than Armstrong did.
He had 100% touch to shot ratio because that was the only time he touched the ball, I think. It was remarkable. He's had three appearances now and not touched the ball. But that's that's not the reason we lost yesterday.
Let's do some score predictions for Wednesday night. Last week we had 129 entries. 33 people said that we would lose at home.
People are getting better at this, aren't they?
And six people correctly predicted that we would lose 2-0. So wow. Yes, they are. Steve, is this where we turn the tides? Do we get a bit of new interim manager bounce on Wednesday night? Do you think we'll get a result?
Maybe I don't know. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, QPR will obviously be reeling from their heavy beating at the hands of Ipswich, who haven't been great themselves for most of this season. So it's one of those. How do QPR respond? How do we respond? I just want to read out a tweet that somebody I know who's a QPR fan posted last night, and you'll know why I've read this out once I've finished reading it out. Most frustrating thing about the Derby and Ipswich games is that neither of them had to be any good to beat us. Given goals away, poor decision making, and a lack of belief from the players. January won't need a huge number of signings, but a keeper and a couple of defenders should be the priority.
Wow.
Copy and paste.
Yeah. So I mean, certainly their home record is appalling. So we should be going there and trying to win. Whether we can kind of drag their heads up and get them out their own arses, who knows? Let's wait and see. I think I'd take a draw out of there and move on to Saturday, which is certainly a much bigger priority win just because of the opposition situation. Just get something positive on the board, just so you look like you're vaguely treading water at least, rather than sinking like a stone.
Saturday would be a good game for a new manager to come in.
I mean, we're not going to keep a clean sheet, are we? Absolutely no chance with this bunch of wasters. 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Glenn?
I'm going to say exactly the same. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw as well. Another thing, I'd like to see a new captain. You know, I'd like to see someone else appointed, someone either a defender or a central midfield player. So, I mean,
any thoughts on who, Glenn?
It's very slim. I know you were going to ask that. Very slim pickings. Even though I'm not always convinced by his attitude, I'd probably give it to Taylor Harwood-Bellis, and just to say, just try and be some sort of leader, just purely because he's done it before, playing for England age group teams. I would try with him. To be honest, I think
Taylor was he one of the players? Was he the only player who went straight down the tunnel on Saturday?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you know, there's no one suitable. I mean, you could. I mean, if you want to dodge the decision, you just leave it with Armstrong, or you give it to Alex McCarthy because he's the most experienced player.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see something positive done in that area, just to hang your hat on someone and say, you know, you go out there and try and be a leader. I mean, Harwood-Bellis at least will be vocal. It probably won't always be constructive, but at least he will be vocal. So I'd go with him. So I'd like to see a change in that area, but I very much doubt that an interim manager is going to make that sort of decision. And it'll probably be Adam Armstrong again, and hopefully he'll do a bit better at that particular job on Wednesday. But yeah, I'll go for a 1-1 draw again. We never get a new manager bounce. So.
Just a complete set.
Yeah, I'll go with a numbers game and say 1-0 win for QPR, unfortunately.
I was thinking something along those sort of lines as well. If you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login. You'll find the leaderboard and how to play on the website. So head over to totalsaints.co.uk. And there's going to be a lot going on, I think, this week. So we'll have an extra pod for you on Thursday evening of this week. That's certainly the plan, to cover off the QPR game, look ahead to the weekend, and maybe there might be some manager news as well. Maybe some rumours for us to go through. Anything else before we finish tonight? I know, Alfie, you mentioned the under-21s. Gavin Bazuna with the assist for that last-minute equaliser. And Steve, I thought we were going to be talking about the women's team beating Nottingham Forest today, because they were, I think they were 2-1 up, weren't they, with 5 minutes to go, and then a few substitutions, and it all unravelled.
Contrived to throw that game in the bin. That was that was very on brand. But yeah, and it's annoying because Forest have not been particularly great since promotion, and a win would have put us second, because we started the season pretty well, I think. But yeah, that was a slightly alarming slip back into old habits. But yeah, we'll see how they progress on that one.
we are expecting quite a bit of rumours, I'm sure, this week. So we'll keep up with as much as we possibly can. As I say, we'll have that pod on Thursday night to go through a few bits as well. If you want to follow us on all the social media platforms, it's at Total Saints Pod. We've got the website where you'll find the merch store as well. If you're new to the podcast, totalsaints.co.uk. There's a link to the shop on there as well. I mentioned it earlier, but we're also on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with a monthly contribution. You visit patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. And I must say a big welcome this week to Maya Noyce, who's joined our TSP supporter tier on Patreon. So thank you for that. We appreciate your support. Each of the tiers that we've got comes with different perks, including some shout outs for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, and David Mansell, who are in the Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are all in our Mick Shannon tier. Thanks as well go to Paul Castle Associates and Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Steve, to Glen. Thank you to Alfie, who I fear has a busy night ahead of him. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you on Thursday night.